Welcome to this special meeting of the Township of Uxbridge Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? If there are none. Review of items not listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk?
There are no items to review.
Thank you. All right, we have one report on our agenda today. This is report CL 5518 of Catalina Blumenberg. So I guess what I'd ask, so we can start the discussion, I'd ask for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll have some discussion. Someone moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Bryan.
Thank you very much. I received some great information in regard to this from different areas in the town, in the Durham region, from Michelle Viney. Thank you very much for helping me out with that. So what I think we should do is make this motion move forward, and in the interest of clarity, I would ask for a recorded vote on this and go from there.
Catalina, do you want to comment at all on this, to your report?
There we go. Through your worship, so this sign bylaw came into fruition in April 2018. It went through a rigorous review process internally with staff. Andre and I worked on it together. Debbie reviewed it, and our solicitor reviewed it as well. We had a public meeting in April 2016 as well, on April 16th, and there were no comments from the public. And I'm not sure, I wasn't here at the meeting, but there was a discussion from council, and council passed it in good faith. When things happen, when public policy is put into action, sometimes we realize that amendments need to be made. No policy or bylaw is perfect, and once it's in action, it came to my attention from candidates that the minimum size requirement was very stringent, and it didn't follow the standard sizing for signs. So when that came to our attention, we talked internally as staff and with the mayor as well, and we did talk about the fact that maybe we could delete that minimum sign requirement to make it more flexible for candidates to purchase the signs that they wish to purchase. And also could free up some time of bylaw so that they're not enforcing a minimum size requirement and they're just enforcing a maximum size requirement. So as staff, we do believe that if council wishes to see this change, we do support it. Although I did outline in my report the advantages and disadvantages to doing so.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Council? Could we have a motion then? Do we have it moved? Seconded? And I think, though, the motion, are you going with the bylaw 1? Is that... the suggestion is that the bylaw 1, which includes the mobile signs and the minimum, deleting the minimum. Is that correct? Are there any other questions? Then all in favor. Sorry, Jack, you have a question?
Yeah, just mobile signs. Both sides of the car, or one side of the car? Just explain mobile signs to me, please.
Catalina?
So the new definition of mobile signs, and I'll read this, it would mean that any sign mounted on a trailer or other freestanding structure which is designed in such a manner so as to facilitate its movement from place to place would not be allowed. But we would allow a sign attached to a motorized vehicle where the principal use of the vehicle is transportation of people, goods, or other materials. So we would allow candidates to perhaps put magnets on their car on both sides as long as they are abiding by our requirements so that they're not exceeding the maximum height and width of signs.
Okay, just carry it a little bit further. One car, my own car, my wife's car, or my neighbor's cars? Exactly what do you mean by that?
So a motorized vehicle, if you have the permission of your wife or your supporter to put magnetic signs on their car, then that would be allowed.
Councillor Barton.
Yeah, just to clarify, magnetic signs are an option. There's nothing that says it has to be magnet. I could paint the side of my car. Anything that has the description would be fine, right?
As long as you didn't paint it over the maximum size of the sign.
I just wanted to clarify. Thanks, Catalina. I assume.
All righty, Councillor Bryan.
Sorry, just one quick follow-up question to that. So does that apply, let's say Dave does paint his car, which he wouldn't, I've seen his car. He's not painting it. Would you be allowed to park it on the township property?
No.
Oh.
Clarification then. Before I paint my car. So, if it can't be on township property, how do we most of our sidewalks, can I park it in front of the Tin Cup? Okay, so just this office? Oh,
So you would be able to park it outside the Tin Cup, but public property under the definition of the bylaw means property owned by or under the control of the Township of Uxbridge. Arena, park, so library.
All right, so Councillor Bryan has asked also for a recorded vote, and so let's be clear. So this is the bylaw 1, which includes both the mobile sign area and the deletion of the minimum sign. So recorded vote, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Barton? You're voting to approve bylaw version number 1.
Yes? Councillor Ballinger.
Yay.
Councillor Bryan?
Yes.
Councillor Beach? Yes. Councillor Rona? Yes. Councillor Hyatt is absent. Mayor Malloy?
Yes.
And that passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. All right, we go to question period. Do you have any questions of the press? Thanks for coming out this morning. Sorry we couldn't be a little more entertaining, but any questions from the audience? Michelle. Please use the mic, Michelle.
Just a quick grammatical error in the proposed bylaw that you've just passed. I do believe that the word principal should be principal, just for reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, no other questions? Oh, I didn't see that, Roger, sorry. Logan, go ahead. Can you use the mic, Logan, because we're being videotaped, and hit the button, please. There you go, there you go.
I just had a question. Why are you using decimal points and feet together? They don't really, and it made the bylaw confusing to understand, actually. I had to try to figure, does 1.7 feet mean 1 foot and 7 inches, or is it 7/12 of, it actually, you're combining two different maths together, and it's...
I think the reason for that is the industry uses both of those. Even in the printing industry and even the sign industry, they still, believe it or not, refer to feet. And I believe that's the reason.
Sure.
Any other questions? Mr. Varley.
Good morning. A couple of questions here. The bylaw, as it stood before you just changed it, did that increase? Okay, let's try and get this straight. What size signs were allowed? What was the minimum size sign allowed in the last election?
It was 3.4 square feet by 0.32 square meters. So, for example, 2 feet by 1.7 feet.
1924.
But if you hadn't made these changes now, those signs from that election would not be allowed to be used in this election?
Under the previous bylaw, they would have been illegal, yes.
So anybody who is on council right now, who is seeking re-election this time, would not have been allowed to use signs that they had last election in this election, am I correct?
Technically, our bylaws are complaint-driven. We don't have the staff resources to be out there measuring absolutely every sign. If we were to see a monstrous sign that clearly went against the bylaw, then of course we would deal with that. But when it came to sizes and inches, when it was 1 inch off, 2 inches off, and can't speak to it, I wasn't here the last election and I'm not the bylaw manager, but it wasn't something that we were as vigilant about, because it is complaint driven. So if somebody was to complain, we would deal with it, but we just don't have the staff resources to be out there ensuring that signs abided by the minimum size requirement.
And not everybody had the Corplast signs, the bag signs for 2024.
My question was not about enforcement. My question was merely that if if the bylaw had not been changed this morning, members of council who were running for re-election would not have been allowed to use the signs they used in the last election.
That would
Am I
depend
right?
on the sign they had, Roger. As I said, bag signs were 2020. Bag signs were 2024 above the minimum. So not everybody used the Corplast signs.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Tammy, go ahead.
Merely just a question of curiosity, but what was the idea behind a minimum size requirement as opposed to the maximum?
So the intent for the minimum size was to avoid smaller signs being placed around town, especially on road allowances that were too small to read and could cause a safety concern from passing traffic and drivers attempting to read the signage.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Great, thank you. Could we have a motion to adjourn? Do we need confirming the bylaw? Sorry. Who has the bylaws? You have them? Okay, Jack, just a sec, Pam. Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, just, make an announcement. Anybody that's interested, next Thursday at 1 o'clock, I will be on Rogers TV for 35 minutes, on Talk Politics, and I'll be speaking about Uxbridge Township in the region of Durham.
Thanks, Jack. Bylaws, Pam, please. You should be reading, do you have the confirming bylaw? Is that what you have?
We got both.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she has number one, right?
Okay, first and second reading, moved by Pamela Beach, second by Gary Runa, that leave be granted to introduce bylaw number 2018-140, and the same be read first and second time and carried.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Leave be granted the third reading.
Third reading, moved by Councillor Pamela Beach, Councillor Gary Runa, that bylaw numbers 2018-140 to be read third time, finally passed, and the mayor and the clerk duly sign and seal the same.
All those in favor? Carried. Confirming bylaw.
Okay. First reading and second reading, moved by Pamela Beach, second by Gary Runa, that leave be granted to introduce bylaw number 2018-141, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council and its special meeting of August the 17th, 2018, and the same be first read and the second time.
All those in favor? Carried. Leave be granted a third reading.
Third reading, moved by Pamela Beach, second by Gary Runa, that bylaw number 2018-141 be now read third time, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk duly signed and sealed the same.
All those in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor Barton. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone, coming out this morning. Have a great day. Too bad it's raining. That might hinder some of the campaigning, but we've had a good week. A little hot, though.